Be honest, you did not see this one coming. You did not think when 2025 rolled around, you would be seeing a TaylorMade R7 quad mini driver released right after the Masters, but that's exactly what is happening. TaylorMade is paying homage to one of the most popular drivers ever, the TaylorMade R7, the first movable weight driver ever from TaylorMade, and bringing out as a mini driver. Okay, so from a size perspective, the TaylorMade R7 quad mini driver is the same size as the previously released mini drivers that TaylorMade has had the last couple seasons, the Burner and the Burner Copper. That's 305 cc's. Now that's a lot bigger than a standard 3 wood, which is gonna probably be somewhere around 200 to 210 cc's, but a lot smaller than a 460 cc driver, and that's by design. The club is also going to come standard on a shaft into a finished build at 43 3/4 inches. So again, longer than a traditional 3 wood, but shorter than a traditional driver. And that's because this club is designed to be an alternative off the tee that is not going to go as far as your typical driver, but is going to out-hit a standard 3 wood. That size at 305 cc's also means this is going to be significantly more stable than your ordinary 3 wood. So if you're somebody who tends to miss a little bit towards the heel and the toe, this club, the R7 Quad, with its higher MOI and its increased stability, should probably send shots straighter than your normal 3 wood. Now it's going to come standard in 2 different loft options, an 11.5 as well as a 13.5. But there is an adjustable hosel mechanism that allows players and fitters to both increase or decrease the loft as needed. So you're going to have a little bit of flexibility as far as hitting distance gap. And that's really important when it comes to a mini driver, because you don't want this thing going too far. You don't want to have just a 5 or a 10 yard gap between your standard driver, which might be 9.5 or 10.5 degrees of loft, and then a 3 wood replacement that you're going to be using primarily off the tee. This club should probably be a good 15 or 20 yards shorter than your driver, but ideally it should be hitting longer than a 3 wood. Now, like the previously released TaylorMade mini drivers, this one has a large carbon fiber crown, which reduces a lot of the weight on the top of the golf club. It has a really nice matte black finish. You can see the sort of woven pattern from the carbon fiber when you look down in the address position, but that matte black finish is really nice, and I think a lot of people are going to probably prefer this to the glossy black finish that we saw on the Burner and the Burner Copper. I really think that it does an excellent job of fighting off glare in sunny conditions, and I think it looks just really, really sharp. But the most interesting part about the R7 Quad, as the name Quad would imply, is that there are 4 different movable weights and 4 different ports where you can put those weights. Now, the club comes standard with a pair of 13-gram weights and a pair of 4-gram weights, and using those weights and putting them in different positions is going to create a different bias and really change the playing qualities of the club. Now, when you put the heavier weights up in the front, you're going to be lowering the launch angle, decreasing the spin rate, but probably also increasing the ball speed. So if you're somebody who's really trying to get the ball out there, that's probably where you're going to want the weights to go. If you need to increase the spin rate, increase the launch angle, maybe bake in a little bit more stability, you want to put those heavier weights, the 13 grams, into the back. That's going to do the job there. But things get really interesting when you start mixing and matching, because if you want to have a slight draw or a slight fade, you can put just one of the heavier weights into a position in the back and sort of mix them up. If you want to create a strong draw, then you can put one of the 13 grams in the heel as well as the back heel section. That should encourage a lot more face closure on the downswing and really help to fight a slice, or to help a good player create more of a draw bias. Simultaneously, you can also put those heavier weights out in the toe and the back toe section and create a really strong fade bias as well. So from a shot shaping standpoint, this is going to be the most versatile and fittable, customizable mini driver that TaylorMade has really ever produced. And as you can see, there are a couple of other technologies that TaylorMade has had in its drivers for quite some time. You've got a large speed pocket here, which really comes in handy with mini drivers when you're trying to hit them off the deck. If you're looking to try and play this club from the fairway, that speed pocket slot helps to activate the lower portion of the hitting area on low struck shots to give a little bit more flexibility here in this titanium face. So it's going to basically perform better when you mishit or thin a shot. You're also going to notice that the words twist face are right here on the hitting area. Twist face is a technology that TaylorMade has had for several seasons in its drivers and in select fairway woods as well, where the top toe section and the low heel section kind of peel back and adds a little bit more curvature. So slight mishits in those areas, which are where people tend to mishit shots most, they're going to enhance the gear effect and try and bring shots back in towards straight, try and straighten out mishit shots more effectively. Now, with all those modern technologies and all those modern features baked into this, it still has a very much of a retro vibe. I remember 21 years ago, seeing the original R7 drivers come out, and they really were just absolutely fantastic. People just were crazy about the whole idea of having movable weights. We've moved on from the idea of movable weights being a novelty or something that just boggles the mind, but at the time, back in 2004, the idea of having movable weights and being able to shape shots by adjusting the center of gravity yourself as the player, or working in tandem with a custom fitter back then, that was all new technology. So the whole idea of bringing back this sort of retro vibe with the R7 quad is very, very cool. Now, I did have an opportunity to go in to Chris Cody's golf shop in Portland, Connecticut, and put the R7 quad through its paces with the TrackMan launch monitor right behind me. And I can tell you that from a feel standpoint, from a performance standpoint, very, very similar in terms of feel from the performance that I typically associate with the burner mini driver Copper, the most recent other TaylorMade mini driver. I did tinker around a little bit with the weights. I didn't get too much into it, I'll be for the first one to admit. And I did see a little bit better performance for me personally when I put the weights in the back. This mini driver that TaylorMade made available to me has only 11.5 degrees of loft. It's a pretty stout loft offering. So for me, I found that I performed a little bit better when I put the weights in the back. I kept the loft still at 11.5, but I found that I was able to get the ball up a little bit more easily and get some spin rates a little bit more where I like to see them with the weights in the back. But I can certainly see players tinkering around with this, working with a custom fitter to get a combination of the adjustable hosel mechanism being where it needs to be, getting the proper shaft that's going to properly fit you, as well as the movable weights. You've got a lot of different levers that you can pull when it comes to the R7 quad mini driver, to getting it to produce the shot shape, the shot trajectory, and the overall distance that you're really going to need to make this club make sense for you. Now, as I've said in other mini driver videos, you have to be very careful about exactly who this is for. The cool factor is definitely there. The retro vibe is definitely there. But that doesn't necessarily mean that this is a golf club that should belong in your bag. If you're somebody who reaches for your 3-wood 2 or 3 or 4 times per round in order to reach a long par 5, or you typically need to hit your 3-wood not only off the tee but from the fairway on a regular basis, then a mini driver is probably not going to be something for you, because you're going to need performance, really good performance off the deck. And this club, while it does have some technologies to help get the ball up in the air with that low CG as well as that speed pocket slot, this is really going to shine off the tee. This is really designed for a golfer who is looking for an alternative off the tee to the driver when they maybe don't want to bring hazards into play that would be in play if they hit their driver. If they're looking for a little bit of increased accuracy off the tee that they don't get from their driver on tight fairways, then this is a golf club that could be used instead of a traditional 3-wood, which would have 13.5 degrees of loft, but more likely 15 degrees of loft. Those are the type of players that really want to be considering what mini drivers can do for them. And that's why I think, as cool as the R7 quad is, and as much as I think people are really going to be fascinated by it, I still think that you're going to need to really talk with a good custom fitter and find out if this is a club that makes sense for you. So listen, I think that that's probably just about everything that you're going to need to know about the R7 quad mini driver. But if you have any questions for me about this club or about mini drivers in general, please feel free to drop them in the comment area below. I do try and monitor my comments as well as I can to answer questions people have. And if you have any questions, I suppose, about golf equipment in general, please feel free to reach out. And if you did get some good information in this video, it would be super helpful to me if you would go ahead and smash that like button, as well as subscribe to my channel. It's tremendously helpful. So thanks very much for joining me, and I'll look forward to seeing you again real soon.